afternoon. Greeting everyone who joined the webinar today. I'm Elena Dagons, and today I continue to acquaint my listeners with the device for development of concentrations PRK-1U, the author inventor of which is the outstanding Russian scientist Grigory Grabovoi. Today in particular, I want to share the experience of working with focused control technologies on the device PRK-1U. Now I will switch off the camera and we will start. So I will repeat for those listeners for whom this information is absolutely new that the device for the development of concentrations PRK-1U is a device of a new generation. It was created by Grigory Grabovoi on the basis of the two currently effective patented inventions of Grigory Grabovoi, method of prevention of catastrophes and device for its realization, and information carrying system. The device is unique because of the fact that Grigory Grabovoi created it using his capabilities of the controlling clairvoyance and forecasting without getting information on this subject from people or from existing texts. And at the same time, he applied the methods of well-known orthodox higher mathematics and physics. He's a specialist in orthodox higher mathematics and physics after graduating from the Faculty of Applied Mathematics and Mechanics of the Tashkent State University. The device is also unique because of the fact that it produces the matter of eternity, and the man working on the device interacts with this matter of eternity. The device produces a range of frequencies which corresponds to vibration characteristics of macro matter, that is, the structure of eternity. That is, the device separates field characteristic of eternity, and at the expense of duality principle, the overlapping of vibration characteristics of matter structure of man takes place. It is overlapped in coherent variant. It is overlapped on this vibration, and we receive the effect which everyone carrying out the tests feels. That is overlapping of vibrations of eternity matter which are producing by the device and vibration characteristics of man takes place. Man, all living beings, have a certain contact with the structure of eternal life. Someone has these structures greatly opened. Then the person is eternally living, or living forever. Someone who only starts to develop them, he needs help, says Grigory Petrovich. And the device working with this matter of eternal life practically makes it visualized. Man, through the spiritual action, through the action of consciousness, begins to see the contact with this matter, which is produced in the device. According to the use of the device PRK-1U experience, there are various sensations at the level of perception, future systems of events. The fact that future events arise and it is possible to normalize them at the same time is natural, since the matter of eternal life contains the structure of the future. This is the quotation from the lecture Teaching of Grigory Grabovoi about God, Instrument Making of Eternal Life, Methods of Application of Grigory Grabovoi's Device of Development of Concentrations, PRK-1U. Especially for the device PRK-1U, Grigory Grabovoi developed 4 modes of work or 4 types of control. Control number 1, development of concentrations of eternal life for any event. Control number 2, development of concentrations of eternal life for controlling clairvoyance. Number 3, development of concentrations of eternal life for controlling forecasting. And control number 4, development of concentrations of eternal life for rejuvenation. Detailed explanations of the fact how to carry out these types of control are given by the teachers of the Education Center at the conclusion of the contract to participate in online testing of the device PRK-1U for 90 minutes. The terms and conditions of such contract are available on the website of Grigory Graboyev World, and all the necessary links will be given on the last slide of this webinar. Today, I would like to share the experience of some technologies of focused control on the device PRK-1U in the mode of development of concentration of eternal life on the controlling forecasting. We know that any teaching technologies are enhanced and developed when we use them when working with PRK-1U. Grigory Petrovich spoke about this in his video lecture, The Teaching of Grigory Graboyev About God, Instrument Making of Eternal Life, Methods of Application of Grigory Graboyev's Device of Development of Concentrations, PRK-1U, of March 30, 2016. The concentrations that are given and will be given in the materials of the teachings when working with them with the help of the device PRK-1U, you accordingly receive a corresponding increase of the concentrations themselves and their development. Therefore, the actual training program itself can, and as a rule in this case, is mastered much faster. So, working on the device in the mode of controlling forecasting, I decided to apply the methods and technologies of forecast control on the system of salvation from global disasters, two methods of which I will share with you today. The first method concerns the construction of future events. The second method concerns the work with the past. Now on the screen, you can see the first method from the book The Teachings of Grigory Graboyev, which includes the seminars of Grigory Petrovich given in Russian on 17 and 28 May 2001. At first I'll read it and then we'll explain how to work with it. Methods and technologies of forecast control based on the system of salvation from global catastrophes. In this case, I suggest, writes Grigory Petrovich, the following methods and technologies which allow you to build focused characteristics on the basis of specific data which you have, or on the basis of those data which you build from the point of view of building future events. So, the first method. You consider the future as a homogeneous environment, such as, for example, a very tall and vertical wall, which has great number of luminous areas of the information as points. And these points, they are all the events of the world. Then, rolling up this large wall into the sphere and placing it, for example, in the form of a globe inside the body, you have the knowledge about all the events and correspondingly the knowledge about the private event ahead of you optimized, maximum equalized and oriented at maximum to prevent a possible global catastrophe. First of all, it's necessary to tell about two types of control. That's important. So, in order to be in touch with the device all the time, You need at first to focus on the small lens of the device and having in mind, so now you see these three lenses of the device and this is the small one. So you need at first to focus on the small lens of the device and having in mind the purpose of control. Imagine if the event concerns the current time or the future, that the light of the control thought moves against clockwise on the lenses continuously. But if you do control which concerns past time, it is necessary to imagine that the light of controlling thought is moving clockwise on the lenses of the device. Because of the fact that concerning the first method, we work with the future, then we do mental actions, rotation, counterclockwise. You consider the future as a homogeneous environment, such as, for example, a very tall and vertical wall, which has great number of luminous areas of the information as points. And these points, they are all the events of the world. Here, you haven't imagined this wall with points, which are all the events of the world, and therefore, among them, there is your event with which you are working. So, here you highlight this point with your event. You should pronounce your event in the form of a goal and imagine it. It's not difficult using the device. If something needs to be corrected in your event, correct it. At the same time, don't forget to do mental rotation counterclockwise on the lenses of the device. Then, rolling up this large wall into the sphere and placing it, for example, in the form of a globe inside the body, you have the knowledge about all the events and correspondingly the knowledge about the private event ahead of you optimized, maximum equalized, and oriented at maximum to prevent a possible global catastrophe. So the first control is complete. You can simultaneously work with several events that are represented on this imaginary wall in the form of points, and you can repeat the control for each event separately. This is your choice. Now the second method. You are examining the past as a system of vertical volumes, pins, which enter the ground at different locations, at different sides, and the earth is like a hedgehog with these needles. Then you, as fast as possible, with instant speed level, get into one of the pins so to see the entire earth, all the processes taking part in the past and in the future. That is entry into the future through the past. You also get an instant control with the absence of the global catastrophe, because this catastrophe didn't take place in the past. The work on the second method assumes work with the past. That is, working with the past, we normalize it. Grigory Petrovich says, quotation, "The negative events can be transformed into normalized physical ones by conscious action. You as if settled them in the information." Unquote. For this work, it is desirable to prepare in advance. First of all, to remember some incidents from your life that you would like to harmonize. It can be any event unpleasant, unharmonious. It could be a disease. With the disease, you can work in this way. To remember yourself, if you work with yourself, of course, at some time when you didn't have the disease yet. And to work being in that time on information level. Secondly, we need to study another technology. I'm going to tell you about it now. And as a fact, we will join two technologies together here in the second method. So, to work with the past, don't forget we do rotational movements on the lenses clockwise. You are examining the past as a system of vertical volumes, pins, which enter the ground at different locations, at different sides. And the earth is like a hedgehog with these needles. Then you, as fast as possible, with instant speed level, get into one of the pins so to see the entire earth, all the processes taking part in the past and in the future. That is, entry into the future through the past. You came into one of the pins and saw a specific event in your past, then you need to normalize. Here, to equalize, to normalize the situation, the event, you can apply another technology from the individual course of lectures of Grigory Grabovoi, given on October 1999. Now we will work with the information from this lecture and then again return to the technology of focused control. In this lecture, Grigory Petrovich says that each person has his specialization, that is, his status of information at the level of general relations. Each person has an access to the control structure, and this control structure is connected with all the processes in the world. That is, each of us is a part of the world. You are a part of the world, says Grigory Petrovich. So control at the macro level is carried out as quickly as possible there, where you know the principles of your, in fact, structure on the transition, where your information is transferred to the information of control of all connections of the world. And this your transition, it lies in the fact that you, on consciousness, go out into the field of discrete control. What is the field of discrete control? The fact is that any event can be decomposed into small events that occurred earlier and which are in fact the causes of the event that occurred later. That is, any event consists of links in the chain. And when you control from the level of your specialization, you fix the information of the time when the event occurred. For example, an event occurred in some period of time in the past. Of course, you don't have to remember a specific time, but you can imagine this chain of small events that make up your event that you are working with. And all this chain of events lasted a certain period of time. You entered there, one of the fixed intervals of information of that time, because you have an access to the structure of control. And this structure of control is connected to all processes in the world. So you are in the event. And at the same time, it's necessary to have such an ideology to be able to see ahead already optimized event. That is, ahead, you should already see the situation when you have everything normalized. And this vision ahead actually defines your specialization, which is in the fact that you control information through the structure of discrete access to intermediate areas of information. This access system involves, first of all, optimization on maximal status. That is, it means that you should adjust the event as much as possible, the most optimized. That is, there shouldn't be here any intermediate links. Secondly, it's necessary to have an ideology just like this. Suppose a person comes with fourth stage of cancer, says Grigory Petrovich. The patient is given an impulse that it is a question only about recovery, not about improvement. If we are talking about a very serious destruction of the body, not compatible with life, it is still a question only about recovery. If we are talking about an event where, for example, there is a situation, say specifically, a person is shot down, then it turns out that it is necessary to improve the condition as if of all sides as much as possible. First, it's possible to disconnect this factor in the past, also to reduce the structure of conflict. Secondly, once the fact has occurred and the status of the event is fixed, then it's necessary to minimize the consequences by doing it through the system of discrete access, as I explained, said Grigory Petrovich. That is, for example, put all events as a chain, where they, intermediate chain links, begin to unpack, as in a hierarchy, to the possible combinations subsequently, so to speak. And through this system of either instant access to all the events, that is to shoot, start the inner impulse to all events or to a specific event, and thus alternate to all the events, to the concrete one, to all, and so on, internally alternate. Thus you minimize and optimize it. That is balance under the general harmony, where in principle people don't suffer, for example, unquote. I would like to say, don't be afraid to have too much information, too much explanation. The bottom line is that you need to understand what you're doing. Then, from all the explanation I gave right now, you will take just one phrase, which you will use during work, but you will understand what is behind this phrase that you are using, right? So, just a moment. So, in order to normalize an event or a situation, we will send impulses like flashes of light into the infinite past to unlock or disconnect the destruction factor in the past, which led to an unfavorable situation, and impulses flashes of light into the infinite future to build the most optimal development of events. To the fact that we will be in the control area, we will change everything for the better in any case. So now, again, let's return back to the second method of focused control. Once again, to work with the past, we do rotational movements on the lenses clockwise. You are examining the past as a system of vertical volumes, pins, which enter the ground at different locations, at different sides. And the earth is like a hedgehog with these needles. Then you, as fast as possible, with instant speed level, get into one of the pins so to see the entire earth, all the processes taking part in the past and in the future. That is, entry into the future through the past. You entered one of the pins and saw a specific event in the past that you need to harmonize, to get to norm. Through the system of discrete access, you enter this event. Now, mentally, you are inside it. Then, you can say like this, for example, through the system of discrete access, from the level of own specialization, I'm sending the pulse of light to the past, disconnect the factor of distraction that led to the unnorm, the pulse to the future. I'm building the most optimum development of events. They can be represented at the coordinate axis or x, where there is plus infinity and minus infinity. You are in your event at a certain point of the axis and send impulses in the plus infinity, minus infinity, and so several times. With spiritual vision, try to see how the impulse of light passes, whether the light is going easily or it has to overcome obstacles. Try to work until the light passes easily in both directions. For me, the criterion that the control at the information level has worked, has done, is a certain spiritual state. Once you have considered that you have sufficiently leveled, harmonized the situation, pronounce the end of our focused control. That is, entry into the future through the past. You also get an instant control with the absence of the global catastrophe, because this catastrophe didn't take place in the past. Now, we finished the second method, of control. In the end of today's webinar, I would like to say that this is very effective technology. It can be tried in a variety of different situations. And in any case, you will be able to change the situation for the better, for a more positive direction. If someone wants to share the results of his work using this technology or any other technology on the PRK-1U, please write on the address which you can see right now on the last slide of the webinar. And of course, send your questions. Now, thank you very much for your attention. Wishing you success and harmonious eternal life. Bye-bye.